Thank you very much. Thank you, Team IDAC, and all the panelists over here. So it's really a matter of privilege and pleasure both for me to be here and part of this August kind of audience and the team together. It's really interesting to know that we are having all kind of professionals, the trade partners and so on together. So I'm sure it's going to be very fruitful discussion and leading towards the kind of topic that we have. The topic is reimagining the townships in modern era. And I'm sure, irrespective of the age, irrespective of the person coming from any background, the kind of topic we have is pretty close to everyone's heart. And all of us will definitely be part of any living, whether it's an apartment, kind of a bungalow, or any kind of dwelling unit. It's definitely a part of the township or a housing. So it concerns all. And the kind of issues that you're going to touch upon, they'll be wide-ranging, right from the cultural background to inclusivity and all these kind of aspects which are generally very relevant in terms of seeing as to how things keep unfolding from the past to the present. And therefore now we'll quickly have a a quick brief on the topic, and then we'll come back to all these learned panelists to discuss things one by one. I personally feel that this topic being very interesting and common to everybody's interest should be discussed in detail in respect of certain key issues. Like when we talk of the township development in any context, as a small or big or whatever, the sustainability and the green building phenomena is something very, very instrumental. And that will be, of course, a point of discussion today. So we'll consider that as one of the key issues to touch upon. And the second is that whether we talk about a housing in isolation, that is, let's say, a bungalow or a unit, or we talk about the housing in context of mixed land use development or otherwise. So all these issues, they'll definitely be of interest. And as you know, the housing today is perpetually a mix of everything, that is from affordable to market rate housing, both. So government also has mandated in a way that whenever a builder has to develop a housing, essentially the builder has to, or developer has to take care of the affordable segment into the mainstream segment of the houses that we design for, or the housing we design for. That means we cannot ignore the affordable segment of the society, and that is what is called inclusivity. And let me tell you just one instance. I was reading, a couple of years back that a best livable city in the world, you must have heard of Vienna, so Austria's capital. So then I happened to plan a trip there. I thought, let's see what is so special about it. So then I realized that people there, it's not like that you go there and you see something very physical, because physical means you cannot expect the city to be very outlandish and very, very unique in terms of its physical appearance. But then it's like beauty with the brain. So you have an element of a social inclusivity and other features and factors which are truly different from other countries. And that is how it makes it stand apart. So there, and I was having a driver who was kind of a professor in his own way. Like there, he is a professor, but then he was our tour guide. So I kept asking as to, what is that distinctive feature that makes you separate from all? So he said, if we have so many sectors in the whole township or whole city as such, capital city I'm talking about, so each and every sector will have a housing for all together. That means the top rich and to the the most affordable segment in the society will also be part of that whole one sector. And each sector is going to be repetitive in its own way. So that the people in a sector, they would not have to move much here and there. That means it's going to be very easy to, be close to each other, meaning you have your employer, then your employee is there, and so on. So that's the kind of phenomena we have. And I'm sure this particular concept is going to be very effective and meaningful in our context too. Because in these, today's context, when we plan townships on housings, we have noticed that these issues are getting very relevant, especially say 20 years ago or 30 years ago when things were planned, they were basically on the principles of each sector, and sector is going to be one CBD only in a whole city. Let's say Chandigarh has got sector 17. Other sectors would not have that kind of commercial buzz. But nowadays, the metros coming in, the TODs, that is transit-oriented development coming in, so the different concept is emerging, and that is each and every sector is going to be self-sufficient, and walkability is going to be a key factor. Each and every planning that is going to be done today is having a focus on the walkability and scalability, where we have cycling concept or the walkability. So every 5 to 10 minutes, or you can say within 5 to 10 minutes, one should be able to make it to home from a sector of, from a point of transport. So that's the kind of factor we are going to discuss today. And similarly, in other sense of urban green spaces and livability of modern townships. So these are the issues that will be touched upon. Then you will also notice that these days we have a lot of climate change taking place. And climate change is not only a talk point, it's just something that you can very often notice on a very regular basis. Like the kind of regular rains, the flash floods, and these situations will be a very regular feature to notice. In the recent past, say about a year or two back, you'll see that the Mumbai city had a huge rainfall in a very short period of time, and there were a lot of loss of lives also reported, because some people got drained off in the manhole and so on. So these kind of situations are coming in. In Bangalore last year, there were boats ferrying in the people from the road to their homes and so on. So they are the point of concerns for us now, because we as the planner, we as the designer of the townships will have to be sensitive to these issues, where we should be able to counter such exigencies. So this is something that we'll also discuss today. And since Mr. Pankaj is not there today, but then we'll have all other learned members to throw light on this, especially Mohit will be able to take up much of it today when it comes to the water conservation and other aspects. So he'll be a person to deal with. And also, when we talk about the urban phase, like our lighting designer is here, so I'm sure it's going to be his subject, and we'll try to get benefit of his knowledge and experience in this sector. I'm just trying to relate things from, let's say, 20 years back. If you recall, all of you would be in a position to recall that particular phase of life when 20 years back, you move on any street or a road of a city, you'll not be able to figure out much of a light, much of a facade lighting, I would say. You would only see that there are some street lights, and then buildings will be having some light here and there, and that's it. Today, if you walk on a road in an urban city or in an urban context, let's say a capital city or a state city, where you have a lot of huzz-buzz in the city, you'll see that the entire skyline of the city is having a lot more to do with the facade lighting. Each and every building will have something special to talk about, something special to say the story. And this is a very, very recent trend, I would say, because it was not there in the past. I'm sure you'd recall that when you would be walking that time, 20 years ago, there'll be few street lights and the areas would be rather dark, not so well lit, and even the social security, etc., would have been these issues. Whereas today, if you walk on the major urban areas, it defines the kind of character the street or the road you walk on. It will have some special feature to deal with. It will have its own vocabulary to convey. And there are other marks of identification also. Supposing you happen to be in some place, you can easily recall that, okay, you are into this area, because you've got some iconic features, some iconic lighting, some special lighting on the facade. So it identifies immediately. So these kind of things are very interesting features in the today's context of urban dynamism that we are encountering. So, and then lastly, we have the sustainability aspect being talked about. We have these GRIHA certifications, we have LEED certifications of buildings, and these are also not just talk points, they are also the points which are fairly relevant, and we have all these issues that are going to come up. So now we'll start from our learned panelist. So we can have just a question for Mr. Pandya. You being in Ahmedabad, I'm sure the new areas of Ahmedabad will have a lot more to deal with newer townships, be of any size, small or large. So what do you think the new townships will have any specific feature to have a focus on? Supposing you're given a chance to have a township design, so what is that strong 3 takes from your side that you will be able to focus in your design approach?
First of all, so your point is well taken in terms of all time a township requires a special kind of bylaws if the regularities are in place. What we can actually do about it is, let's say in X project, we have given a 10% of common area into it. Y project has gone a certain area of percentage for a common plot. Rather than if we have a township, we can actually have those 10% each from that of an individual housing block or a commercial block, and put it together in a centralized way, and then you give them an opportunity to build from the line itself, so that you have a great chunk of land in a center or wherever way I can design it. And then from that point of time, my design point or reference point would be that I can walk the way you wanted. I can walk through that park with my family or from my workplace within a 5 or 10 minutes of a span. If I'm allowed to use those bylaws, a tweak as per the need. So I would wish that rather than having my 10%, your 10%, let us have 10 plots together and have 100% of common open place in a center, just like a New York City has a park in a center and then buildings on a periphery. I think that would work as an...
Yeah, even Mumbai also, they've got a transferable FSI. So
yeah, that's a separate thing, but yeah, so my point would be that on sustainable part. Other thing, actually selecting a land, if I'm allowed selecting a land, rather I would have a greenfield project, I would still go for a brownfield redevelopment an approach, or something, a landfill project in which we can actually save a lot of green area into it. So selecting a land, if allowed, should be a criteria of it. And third, I feel waste management. That is where again come into a picture where we do a lot of things and put a lot of waste. So every day we have got Pirana Dungar here, which is always there. And if we actually think of processing everything, and if we work on a waste management on a larger goal, and we put it across all the township to follow those policies, we can actually reduce a load on certain areas, and we can have self-sustainable modules, I think. So this is how I would take it.
Yeah. Wonderful. I'm sure these things will definitely go a long way in having your design approach towards a good delivery of newer concepts. I'm sure that will be a good thing. And now we'll move on to Mr. Modi. So we have his experience towards mainstream architecture design. So, and with his background and experience, we can definitely get to know from him as to what are the sustainable and eco-friendly and energy efficient means of strategies which you can be using them in your such township designs.
Interestingly, first time, in fact, we got a chance to design a walled city of Jaipur, retrofit walled city of Jaipur. And before the presentation to CM, I was studying. Interestingly, it is the first planned city of India. In 1730, the Raja Mansingh designed it. And imagine the city squares, the walled city, having 1 lakh square feet of a city squares. The one, I think the way you mentioned, this was practiced in 1730, when they were all row houses, the overall Hawa Mahal and all the streets having all these buildings and city squares of Badi Chaupat, 1 lakh square feet. I was to design that 7 city squares. I was surprised that, imagine, even 300 years back, the Indians thought about it. The Vastu Shastri, so-called, they were climatologists. And the city squares were ranging from, the minimum was, I think, 30,000 square feet. Choti Chaupat, Badi Chaupat, they were all city squares. There was no car, bullock carts were running. I think nothing was been invented. We were having, they are having in their city the sustainable water conservation system. The rainwater they used to collect in Magha Nakshatra. That is a third monsoon. Third rain when it comes, the water is clean. They used to collect it. The same was been used for drinking. There were khar kuas. The water, the sewage was been through your, we call it a khar kua in Gujarat. That is basically giving back that water, it's the septic tanks. So I think the sustainability, what we talk today, it's been practiced long back. Unfortunately, it is vanished, and now we are looking at the sustainable approaches and all these rating systems from the lead or whatever. We look around in every state, the courtyard houses of Kerala, or even the city in our, even in Saurashtra and all, we already have it. And I believe the sustainability starts with our basic design. First, I think even you were discussing that it's like having a glass building and then going and buying a 5-star rated air conditioners. It's a foolish. The screens, you heat your building and then you try to bring all these aspects. So eventually I believe the modern or the future design concepts with the this all climatic conscious design, we already have it. And enough of such context we have, which unfortunately not been taught in the colleges or not been followed. We discuss it in such forums, and then eventually we see the Bangalore or multiple sittings drying out and not having water and all. It's basically with, I think, all urban townships, if we just follow the concept which was been practiced in India, I believe it's quite easy to bring back that glory and to avoid all these kind of issues in future.
Rightly said, Mr. Modi. Like his crux of the whole thing is that, like a glass house, it's like a person with obesity and an unhealthy, person. He would take a lot many medicines to show the results of recovery than a healthy person who will take less medicines to show recovery. Exactly the same way. So any glass house will have these kind of things. So you have to hire a consultant for grid energy or Griha or something, and then he will, find the ways out to circumvent in a way that first of all your negativity goes out, and then you come to a zero level, then your positive skill starts scaling up. So these kind of efforts will be, unnecessarily taking away energy and money and everything. So better to be controlled and disciplined, whether it's life or a building design or anything. So these two factors will definitely count a lot.
This is a small part. Even the Hawa Mahal, the Jalis, even the sandstone, the facades are, we have context ready to study. In SOR, they have suggested the cement pavers. Before taking a project, we said, I said, I want one presentation for the cobblestones. I said, you have to change this SOR. How can you use the cement pavers in a Jaipur? And we put 120 variety of cobblestones within 80 kilometers of Jaipur. And we go to Europe to study their footpaths and their facades and buildings. The Jaipur, we were trying to use the cement pavers. And 120 variety of stones are available. That's now they all footpaths and all mean. In fact, this should be a code in India that we should be using all these materials for this urban development, which should sustain for coming hundreds of years. We keep doing a project, it's very painful.
Definitely, I think we have to be concerned, sensitive enough, and careful so that we can maintain our environment protection policy in a good way. So then now we have another interesting person, NIRMIT, who is a lighting designer. So naturally, he's going to lighten up and light up the environment here today. So we are here to discuss him with certain things like when we deal with the new townships and especially in the modern era we are talking about. So getting close to the context, you as a designer, how would you take up the challenge of leaving an imprint of your presence on the project? Had you not been there and had you been there? So when you are there, how would that project figure out in terms of Mr. NIRMIT's role on the project as a lighting designer?
Yeah, I think it's more than Mr. NIRMIT's role. It's more about leaving an imprint of a quality light. As of now, I think there are very few lighting designers in city and in the country as well. So that awareness about using, when we say lighting design, I think most of us who call ourselves as professional lighting designers, we are predominantly dealing with electric light. And not, unfortunately, the daylight. I studied architecture, and then my hunch was for being a lighting design was actually to plan daylight, because I was seeing the controlled daylight is something which is very interesting to me in order to optimize the quality of light. Most of our vernacular architecture approach is to shade, because we are in tropics, and what we are influenced is mostly from the Western tradition, what I think earlier speakers also talked about, glass building phenomena. And glass is not bad, but the way you use as an architect makes
in the right
difference.
context. Anyway.
Yes, so you use it for transparency, to connect it with the nature, etc. So bringing back those basic value of light and shade. I mean, lighting design is also about shading, about creating darkness. So my role as a lighting designer in a project would be to craft this contrast very well, to look at the perceptual quality of light. I mean, when we deal with electric lighting project, or I think most of the electric lighting projects are done from the parameter of visibility. How many lux levels on a horizontal plane, that is what our standards and codes are mainly or traditionally looking at it. Eventually they have been developed. Now we are looking at the vertical illuminance or the perception. The light reflected from a dark surface to a bright surface would be different. So considering the holistic approach, how we perceive the light, so the human needs, the social needs, the architecture or the aesthetic needs. So that's also, I think, the architecture or the aesthetic needs has been missed out in many of the visibility-focused projects. So we don't celebrate our architectural features, the form, order, the materials. So the truthfulness of these materials is something quality lighting design would bring out. It would also regulate, then it will affect the energy and environment as well. So, I mean, in our city, I think we are seeing a lot of these, you said facade lighting design means facade lighting, no. But yeah, unfortunately, that's what is the perception, the city level. So when you plan a city, as a planner, you are looking at Kevin Lynch image of the city, you're looking at landmark, you're looking at neighborhoods, you're looking at boundaries, you're looking at those identity of the city. That I mean, yes, you go in any vernacular setting, Jaipur or something, you see that, yeah, the Jali is the character. You go to Bengal, you see the Bangla roof. You go to Kerala, you see this pitch roof. So all this is visible by the daytime. But how do you perceive, how do you identify these areas by night? I mean, you go to any of the new developments and you will not be able to, or in the large township, sometime to identify where you are is very difficult because everything is stamped. It's copy-paste, stereotype. So bringing in that hierarchy, I think a good architectural scheme would already address this by daytime, but how to do that placemaking by night is something which is our challenge, and we try to deal with it creatively.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I think rightly said, Mr. NIRMIT's contention is that the lighting is more by virtue of trying to see how qualitative is that in terms of the lighting in the spaces that we deal with, and very correct. So we have to be sensitive about the use of light and trying to conserve the light so that we can definitely save on the power consumption in a larger way, in a bigger way.
Yeah, I mean, environmental sensitivity is
Yes.
something I think which I forgot. So
Yeah.
there's a human need, there's this architectural need, and then there's this energy and environmental thing. And if we talk about the city or the township level, we see overlighting is not good. We see a lot of light pollution. This light pollution is not only that up in lead also we deal with it, the light which is going up. That's what people generally perceive. But I think many of you might know that it's whatever is unintended use of lights application.
Kind of a lighting hazard. So
That is pollution. I mean, your street lights, they go into your plot or your building. That's not useful. It has to be at the intended place. So one small motto you all can follow is right light at right place and at right time. If you ask all your lighting decision these questions, I think we might end up with
absolutely correct. So the photometry is the right context where you get the right kind of light at the right place in the right manner. Thank you. So now Mr. Mohit is a well-known figure in terms of his brand being represented by him over here, and he is the one who is into this a leading brand dealing with all kind of lights and bath, So now coming to his core subject of the dealing with water, I would say, and water is a very precious commodity, and we are all concerned about the water's uses, oblique misuses. So I think nobody can be a better person than him to address this concern of water conservation. So you as a JAQUAR person will have two ways to handle. One, through product design. The second, as a strategy on the larger context basis as to how to conserve water. So please, your take.
I mean, thank you. I mean, first and foremost, in agreement with you, our indulgence is water. And I think it's all about, even so is the vision of the group, that we talk about rediscovering the joys of water and light. That's what JAQUAR Group is all about. And, but at the same time, as market leaders, there's a much bigger responsibility that behooves us that we actually lead the industry into sustainable production. I would like to begin from there. And green products and green technology and green manufacturing actually goes hand in hand. It's a part of our DNA. Like if I talk about sensor faucets, we save almost 59% of water there. If I talk of air showers, we almost save close to 30% of water there by mixing air and water. If we talk about something like floor restrictors, we save almost 80% of water there. Now, this is what we do when it comes to, you know, being responsible market leaders, and we talk about green products and green technology. But I think role goes beyond just products. I think it begins in the way we have envisioned that water is a very, very scarce resource and it needs to be approached with a lot of, what should I say? I mean, it's everybody's responsibility. I mean, somebody was talking about Bangalore. No water there. I mean, you have to literally dig 150 to 200 feet to get water there. I was speaking to Nareshnan Narasimhan. I mean, I mean, that's a challenge that can happen to most of the other leading cities in India. So what we're doing is that we are almost practically leading the industry wherein we are a USGBC LEED Platinum certified building. In fact, one of the most signature buildings in Delhi NCR where we have a global headquarters. Now, this building is, we are almost generating close to 13.5 megawatt power through aggregated solar capacity installed. And whatever we use rest we flow back to the national grid. Every bit of a wastewater gets recycled into horticulture and cooling towers. Every bit of solid waste goes into biomass energy. And we are using radiant cooling technology. I think Abhishek was talking about it in one of his buildings at Surat. So Abhishek, you'll be happy to know that we are almost able to save about 35 to 40% of our air conditioning load, which I think the scale that we talk of about a global headquarters that most of you have seen, I mean, it's again the operational expense that needs to be optimized in the long run. Now coming to our installed manufacturing capabilities, that's the part 2 of your question. We are, though our indulgence is water, but we talk about a zero liquid discharge plant. We are recycling 5 lakh liters of water a day. I'm talking about an installed capacity of 150,000 faucets manufacturing a day. And I'm recycling 5 lakh liters of water a day. I'm able to annually recover 4,221 metric tons of brass annually. I'm equally able to, that's the brass I recycle annually. I'm able to recover 8.1 metric tons of chrome salt annually. So I think all in all, if I talk about a carbon footprint, I am able to mitigate 16,000 tons of carbon footprint. And with aggregated renewable energy sources, I am able to mitigate almost a quantum of 20,500 tons of carbon footprint. So I think, Ashokji, I would say that, you know, it's not, I think, not only us. It behooves any industry coming from India. And happy to share with the audience that we enjoy 22 best global certifications in the world. That is the reason we say proudly made in India for the world. So I think this community of architects and designers, you play in a big role. Your interface with consumers is maximum. We learn from you with all humility. And then we plow all your inputs back to our R&D and manufacturing. So I think that's the way JAQUAR looks at it.
Good to know all that. And I really wish JAQUAR should tend to be a torchbearer in this field of water conservation, and also a lot of other things which are having a direct touch with the sustainability. So you should.
No, I'm happy to share that this year we are at Salone. The first time that an Indian brand has taken up a 480 square meter setup being invited in Italy. And it will be an honor and privilege that anybody coming from Gujarat, I think it's your place in Italy. So I think we'd love to welcome all of you.
Thank you. So now coming back to Mr. Pandya, so he said he would love to deal with the brownfield projects. So I think a question close to our heart is going to be like, what can a mixed income housing model be? I mean, how can you integrate this mixed housing income model into the redevelopment of townships to promote social inclusivity? So what's your take on this?
Okay, so redevelopment is need of an hour of cities like growing cities, what we have. And I would put it, redevelopment is it's a PPP model where a developer doesn't have to purchase a land, first of all. So you are saving on a land, as I was mentioning. Obviously, it has got its own pros and cons of doing it together. Inclusivity in terms of, obviously, bylaws has got that 10% of affordable sector that you have to have, and that eventually helps the other setup for all their needs to be done. But I find that redevelopment, according to me, works as in more of a PPP model, that public-private partnership model that works largely with private developers, because then the smaller developers who cannot afford a land are more into the redevelopment part of it, and that is where this affordable sector can work largely. And getting a bit on his take on water, I have certain things to share, that we all work with technologies largely on the designing part as well as the construction part. We mostly work on BIM softwares where we have data in place where it helps costing for the execution part. But in Bangalore, where I was discussing with a friend, in his society, whatever data they had with the consultant, they've shared with a developer and then to an end user. So my data develop for a BIM through BIM software is with the end user now, and end user has given it to an automation guy, etc., etc. They've linked with the water meters. So every morning I'm going out of my house, it will say, Sharma ji, aapne 150 liter pani zyada waste kiya hai, on the screen in a lighter way. So what it has done, and what I understand, that all technologies and whatever we discuss has to help and go to the end user, and that is where I think your company like yours and eventually we all of us needs to focus while we use technology in a right way. Then it can go a long way for all of us.
Yeah, I think absolutely correct. The social inclusivity comes out of the very concept of having a very vibrant social life, and that is possible only when you have a mix of society and all moving shoulder to shoulder together. Otherwise, if you have one kind of living community in any setup, the things are very, very mundane. I mean, people don't really have much to do with others. So it's good to have a very strong social woven fabric. So rightly said. Thank you. And now I think Mr. Modi will be interested to talk about on the subject of what all we can get in terms of the newer technologies when we deal with the modern townships. How can you deal with new technologies, innovative or new technologies, so as to deal with these things and yet get cost-effective solutions, time-efficient, and the best of deliveries? So could you please say something on this?
I think, Mohitji, on my association with some Netherlands consultants, they are surprisingly in Europe and all, they've come up with, I come across a cabin, a shower cabin, where you take a shower and the water is collected. It's basically, see, any individuals, when we use for a bathing, I'm spending 100 liters of water. So I take water from the ground, I soft it, or a lot of clients nowadays want RO water. कि बाल खराब हो जाते, they want 80% additional water they want to spend. So 180 or 200 liters. And that water we drain per family, 4 or 5 persons family, throwing 1,000 liters of water every day, just taking a shower and draining it. A lot of experiment has been done in, and certain such cabins I saw. And I thought, if such, where the same water, the water is being stored in the same cabin tank, and it's been filtered with a carbon filter, multiple filters, only 5 or some 7% of water is being thrown, and 93% water is being reused in the same shower cabin. Now, in a township of, say, whatever the size, if a family can save, say, from 1,000 liters, if I'm spending 70 liters or 100 liters, 900 liters per family, and we count it, I think such revolution is the only solution in eventual time, what I'm seeing in Bangalore or in Saurashtra, Rajkot. You know, before, we are in Gujarat, before 15, 20 years, maybe 10 years back, the people used to buy water. That the way we pay milk guy, 1,500 rupees, 2,000 rupees, 10 years back, we used to pay to get the water. Wo tanker mein, in, I think, Rajkot, everybody knows that we used to get it. So I am seeing it happening very soon if we don't come up with such kind of solution. So eventually in townships, if with the technology, we can plan to reuse this all water which we drain, we can reuse it for sure. And that can be a revolutionary change, a self-sustain, with the technology. We will have to find the solution where we will be self-sufficient. That in terms of water, in terms of solar, yes, because of now this revolution coming up, we are saving a lot of, we are putting power to grid the way JAQUAR is doing, I think, and it is happening in the house. But along, even the, I think the waste management, same thing. It is on a bigger scale, it is happening. But I don't think every housing can have a waste management system where we can surely, we don't need to throw any, why do you need that garbage collection trucks and all? And interestingly, Indore is doing fantastic.
Yeah.
But that is not repeated pan-India. That's the only issue. But I'm seeing it happening very soon. And I think architects and the industry can take a lead to take it forward.
Yeah, rightly said, Mr. Modi. So, as you heard him, these two states, you know, the Gujarat and Rajasthan, they have been severely drought affected, you know that. It's a common knowledge. But then, if you look at 10 years ago and look at things today, they're far too different. There have been places in both these states which were severely affected on account of drought, and the life was miserable. Now, you know, with the growing awareness towards this, people have gone for check dams, this, that, and then other devices, and the water level, or you can say the water itself has really improved a lot. Life has gone much improved, and all these things have come out of this sensitivity only. The people, like in Rajasthan, I'm telling you, the Waterman of India, he has been pioneering the cause of water conservation, and he really made a good impact on society, and people have really followed him like anything, and then the results have come so successfully. And there are a lot of examples available.
I think one of the biggest contribution has come from Namami Gange project. So the Ganges, I mean the cleaning of Ganges, and particularly how that water is being recycled, particularly with industrial townships and the wastewater coming to the Ganges, I think it's a huge pilot project being undertaken.
Yeah.
And as you so rightly said, cluster of certain sectors coming together and using either solar power or also recycling the wastewater. That would work. And Japan is doing it.
So now coming back to Mr. NIRMIT, so again, being expert in lighting, so we'll have something to talk on this. As a designer, you have been doing, I think, a forte is about the interior with the design, the quality of light, natural light, I would say. Now, how do you think your approach will make an impact in terms of the saving of energy, the power, on a bigger scale. So what percentage and in what manner? So can you just enlighten our audience with a little bit of data in terms of how much is going to impact with the right approach of design?
I think firstly, if it is well planned, by knowing who is your client, what are they doing, at what time they would need light and all that. If any careful, good design will already save a lot of energy, rather than going by this grid approach and the normal lux level planning kind of an approach. A good qualitative design, either architecture or lighting, it already saves a lot of energy. The second layer, I think, is about controlling, regulating this light, the dimming system, the automation system. Here we have awesome over here who are providing this kind of a control solutions. So that is also something I think we need to adapt, and integrating it with with the sensors, which allows you to dim your light when it is not needed, turn it on only when it is needed. So this kind of, early on our belief is that, or most of the developers or the client, they think, oh, we will do automation, it will increase our budget. But one needs to look at the long-term perspective, especially on public amenities in these townships, which is going to be mostly utilized by the people. We often see the fire escape or the staircase lighting, no one uses it. People mostly use elevators, but still by night they are on. We see a lot of compounds, driveways, they are throughout the night, they are lit. Firstly, they are over-designed. They don't follow the right codes. They put a lot of light, because most of the time, it's a fact, I'm sitting with some people, but sometimes, not everyone, but some vendors, when you get your designs done by the vendors, in order to sell their products more, they would overgive you, they would over-design. So there's no regulation over there. So that's where, if you start doing that, firstly, you will save careful planning. Then you dim it when it is not needed. That is also, and you consider the overall expense in the project. So that also helps. And of course, here, we are not looking at, we always look at the product and we say, this is very expensive. A good quality product with higher efficiency, higher visual comfort, qualitative products would be always expensive. But that's initial expense. You have to look at the payback period. So I think those kind of terms, those kind of calculations, measures, design concerns, I think if we start making it our part of design practice, then definitely we are going to use or consume less energy and be respectful to the environment.
Rightly said. I'm sure this goes a long way in many contexts, especially higher capital cost. So when you put in higher capital cost, you have two things to take care. One, that it's a value for money, and second, that you have a payback period. So in case you have little higher value, but still you have a payback period of, let's say, 3 to 5 years, you are happy and you're lucky to have that deal done on that basis. So I think that holds good for most of the items in our industry, and that should be
and the most important thing is to hire a lighting designer, because the design cost is not much. The value that you spend on a normal design, that's much higher, and any professional would save you that cost. Same with the landscape and many other emerging fields. They always, also automation consultant. I mean, people are very habitual to just have automation vendor on the board and then wo sab kar dalega, rather than questioning what is the actual need of control and preparing that brief and then all the way to the commissioning. So yes, hire designers who can professionally manage.
So Nirmit, what happens in most of projects that MEP consultant is on board and it is been assumed that he's going to do the lighting designer's role, and that is where I think the not a mishap, because it's an engineering way of looking at it things, and wherein lighting designer's role is very, very different to save the cost.
One another thing is, I think rather than going for, optics was what something I was already pointing out, that good quality products would have that. But another aspect is also, I think, design education, or this lighting design education, the awareness about that is also something very important. I come from a very premier institute, CEPT, over here, but at that time, I mean, now it has been many years, but our approach, because we are from tropics, we say that, okay, we know daylight design and the architect's job is done. But you see, the time has changed. We spend a lot of time by night, or where earlier we were, when I was a kid, we were sleeping by 7 or 8, and now those time have
Nimit, I'll endorse your view and I'll take your statement to a step further. See, for that matter, all the designers on this earth, they're all going to add value for money. Whenever they're engaged, they're definitely going to have some recovery and results given to their clients. And it doesn't hold good only for the lighting, it holds good for all, whether it's a MEP or architects, planners, any kind of consultant or designer is definitely going to add value, because you save much more than what you get. In terms of the consultancy fee you get, you give much more in return. So I think that is always holding good. Now coming to the last question of the Mohit's kitty, that is, so you're heading two verticals, bath and light. So as a person given a choice and a chance to do something best where you can really make an impact, so how do you deal with the electrical aspect of this thing, like electrical energy saving in the lighting, and also in the water segment, that is your other things?
See, I would approach it more from a sense that also echoing with what Nirmit just said. I think at one end we need to be approaching design from the concept of more biophilic designs, wherein, you know, we somehow have to, I mean, India as a tropical nation stands blessed that at least we are witness to seeing 4 seasons to a year. Though spring seems to be diminishing now, you have winters and then you straight away move to summers. That's a more recent trend, not a good one, but it's there. But I think still biophilic design is something that needs to be embraced. And there also needs to be very, very, very high on empathetic design. I think empathy in design is also missing. So human-centric designs is something that needs to be looked at. I mean, I look in Toronto, I mean, they always have the kind of energy charges that you pay during the day from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. is exorbitantly high. Whereas evening they have optimized, it is the other way around. But the day usage of light is not being patronized. So we are also building so many things as part of our own design. Nirmit, you have seen our lighting plant. I mean, this is absolutely state of the art what we are doing into lighting. So I mean, we are also trying our best at using the best quality drivers. We are into our own PCB or manufacturing now. We want to get into chip manufacturing eventually. So most of the things which are at the core, and again going back to the same thing, better use of optics. I mean, software, reflectors. we are able to play around with the combination of interplay of dynamic lighting very effectively.
Optimizing the output of the light. And that's what I was talking about, that them being a consumer brand to entering into now professional brand, professional equipment manufacturing brand, they have embraced these aspect of optimizing the energy.
And also, I think somewhere overlighting, again, is something, since we also talk about autumnal lighting. So, I mean, there are much higher constraints once we are doing autumnal lighting. We did the Durgam Cheluvur signature bridge in Telangana. Now we are also trying to light up a lot of heritage structures in India. But I think lighting per se, in agreement with NIRMIT, one is a lot of over-designing. Second is specs, there need to be certain guidelines, even in townships, Ashok ji. I mean, UP, you know, I mean, and then again, why UP? I mean, it's being practiced all across Delhi, NCR, in Gujarat, everywhere. I mean, the way, there's so much of garishness. If you look at the way, even when they do facade lighting in Europe is being, you know, executed. There's a lot of subtle way of just highlighting certain structures.
I mean, we don't need to go far. We have Asia, I mean, Japan. Also very, very, very good use of electric energy. Their culture, like our culture, also embraces shadow. They like to design more with shadow than the light, and they're very sensitive. So I think shadow design is something we should call when dealing with electric energy.
Thank you very much, NIRMIT. I think we've already exceeded time. Ms. Fernandez told me that we've already gone beyond the timeline anyway, so there were two panelists missing, so I thought we'll just try to make it more interesting. And thank you so much, all the panelists, and I hope the audience must have found these distinguished panelists of interest to you all. Thank you so much.